with you? Must we break down the door? Temchin! I said, what's wrong with you, Temchin?
Everything, Mom.
Everything? What do you mean by everything? Is it me that's wrong or is it the father?
Look, Mom. All my friends have some placement or the other, and I'm the only one who's unemployed. And what am I supposed to feel? Happy?
I'm not asking you to be happy about it. I'm just saying that, well, it's only a matter of time and I'm sure everything will be alright.
Cut it out, Mom. You have been saying that for the past 3.5 years.
Temchin, please listen to me, okay? Temchin! Hello? Anand, is Temchin's uncle there? I'd like to speak with him, please. Hello, Zuchamo? It's about Temchin again. Now I'm so worried about him. I'm sick of this, daily scenes at home. He's so desperate. And maybe if he just gets a job, everything will be alright. I wish you could help us out. Yeah, that will be fine. Will you be able to drop in once in the evening? Okay, thank you. Okay, bye.
Hello and welcome viewers to this television talk show organized by the Highland Dawn Media. The topic for our talk show is Suggested Guidelines and Attitudes for the Unemployed Individual. I am Lemti and this is my co-host Teja Meru.
Okay, thank you very much, Lemti. In today's talk show, we will endeavor to suggest some ways and means, positive guidelines and remedial measures whereby unemployed persons could prepare themselves better individually and in various ways for gainful employment in the days to come. Now, the reason I say this is because when we look at our own state of Nagaland, I believe there are more than or about 40,000 unemployed, educated unemployed today, all in search of a white-collar job or a salaried job. Now, when people go in search of this type of jobs and when they don't get it, many times it propels them into a lot of uncertainties and frustrations could build up. And I believe the social problems that we have, extortions, immorality, drug addictions, alcoholisms, are in many ways, I think, are spillovers of the frustrations that the young people are facing today in our land. And what's so interesting is because we have the panelists with us, a lot of them all expertise in their own fields to help us and guide us and provide suggestions for the unemployed youth of our day.
Talking about our very own state of Nagaland here. Number of unemployed individuals is on the rise at a very alarming rate. Now, according to statistics, there are at least 14,000 students who appear the HSLC exams every year. Mm-hmm. Now, out of this, about 7,000 to 8,000, half of it, pursue higher studies. The other half, some of them reappear again, but a majority of them, drop out of academics. So we see here a very major problem where both in the elementary as well as in the secondary levels, we have a very high percentage of dropouts.
And therefore, I want to come up with our first question. I want to ask our panelists on this one, and which is, now, would you also think that unemployment is caused due to migration of people from the rural to the urban? Now, a lot of people are in sort of easier lifestyle, not wanting to do the manual work, all moving to the urban areas. And do you think that is causing a tension here? What is your opinion? Any one of you can share this, the panels.
Well, it is quite natural that people should migrate from villages to the urban areas that is a process. But so far as job-seeking migration is concerned, definitely it should and it is creating tension. Why? Because as of now in Nagaland, the population in the villages are thinning down, whereas in urban areas, we seem to be having increase in the population rate. So that could be because the youngsters are trying to migrate to the urban areas, expecting something better than what they can have in the villages. And what I would like to add is that the curriculum in the schools and the colleges is devoid of our basic activities and basic lifestyle, basic needs of life, because it is all theoretical based.
So it's very theory and not practical.
So that is one thing. And the traditional lifestyle in the villages is quite disheartening to the youngsters, because when modernization is coming on the other hand, and then village life back at home, quite a contrast. And this has created a big gap in the minds of the youngsters, that if they come down to the urban areas with little bit of education, they will be much better placed and they will find a lot of facilities. So this has been created, and this seems to be going on and on unless we make a drastic change in the educational system basing on life activities. If the curriculum is constructed, if education is given basing on actual life activities in Nagaland, considering into the natural resources available and what are the needs of society, then this tension will continue.
Thank you very much for those insights. That's all we have time for right now. We'll be back. Welcome back. We have discussed at length about the migration from rural to urban. And at this time I just want to ask Mr. KV on how we should or can check this trend of migration.
We can do something by two means, either of two means. One is by force, the other is by persuasion. Now in this case, certainly we can't do it by force, no policing will succeed here, but through persuasion. And persuasion, by that I mean showing good examples in the village level, successful projects that will draw people to remain there. Because only when there are successful examples, people will be interested, not so much by propaganda. I just want to briefly say one thing here. We are told that agriculture in Punjab many years ago, when it first succeeded, it did not succeed so much by government propaganda, but because some retired army people showed that agriculture can be successful, and then people automatically went into it. And therefore I think whether it is NGOs or some resourceful person or even by government, some such successful project should be done, and if that is done successfully, I am sure that people by persuasion will remain.
And I know Lim gave a question to us, but before this, I want to ask this to the audience, and that is, do you also observe this a lot of migration from the rural to the urban? And are there any suggestions from your side too?
As far as I'm concerned, I believe I see there's migration.
And I feel that instead of letting rural people go to urban areas for employment, I think we should see that employment is sensitizing people to get employment in rural areas is done in vast scale. I think that will help even to a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, picking up on that same issue of the change of attitude to unemployment, we have heard from Dr. Anla that it could be because of the general system of education. That could be one of the factors. But we also know that the media plays a very large role here in projecting a different culture totally. So I would just ask our panelists here, Mr. Chase, to say something on the role of media.
Well, if we have to say something on the media, we need to remind ourselves that today we live in a media age. We are surrounded by media of all sorts, and we can't do without it. And so either directly or indirectly, whether you want it or not, the media will somehow influence you. And media is such a means that it creates trends, it creates new cultures, it gives you new impetus to your daily life, and it gives also new ideas for you to imagine. But one thing which we need to remember is that media are all created realities. They are not the real realities. For example, we can take our present talk show. This is a created reality which we would like to present to our viewers so that they have an idea of the different opinions of people who have gathered over here today. And so similarly, this kind of culture can be projected in the media. And people who are not used to the way in which the media works, they can easily be hook-winged. They can easily be taken off their feet and consider everything, whatever is presented in the media, as true to the letter and spirit. So, for example, if in the media certain lifestyles are projected, people can easily take it for granted that if you dress like such and such person, you can easily come up to that kind of lifestyle. Or if, supposing in a film, an actor who goes about with all sorts of weaponry, and wherever he goes, he can clear up the path for any kind of problems solving. Persons who are not used to the way the media is presented or it affects us can easily take it for granted that I also can follow the same style of functioning and that I can get the same kind of results. For example, there was an advertisement where I think it was to do with cold drinks, where a fellow jumps from the top of the building and then lands on top of a vehicle which carries a lot of bottles of cold drink. Okay, and in the film it is shown in such a manner that he lands right there, takes the bottle and drinks. Now, a few children tried that and they died. Oh. They committed suicide. So, we are just giving an example of children, but other people also can easily be affected. And so this is the kind of ways in which the media can easily affect us. The media can influence our life and we can be led to the dream world. There is another aspect which we need to also perhaps look into is the culture of permissiveness which has been created, particularly among the youth. For example, when they go, when they get together, when they go about together, in terms of sex, in terms of closeness, in terms of intimacy, or for that matter, even in terms of love, real love for that matter, they take it for granted that if they get together, if they understand each other, it's okay, that's the end of it. They don't have to consult their parents, they don't have to seek the opinion of others. What the responsibilities of married life would be. Those are things which they don't consider. But things which are, presented in a glamorous way, they see in the movies or in the media, and they try to emulate that. This is the kind of thinking that is presented. So similarly, in terms of employment, in terms of daily life, on other aspects, the media can influence us, and the media can be a very, very important influencing force. And we need to understand that media are not realities. They are created realities, and we need to discriminate in the media.
Thank you very much. And from all that we have shared from the beginning, it seems to me that in days to come, our thousands of young people who are unemployed must get themselves or gear up themselves to be more creative if they are at all to survive without a sort of a white-collar job in that context, since you are talking. And in this train of thought, I would like to ask Reverend Chen to share with us some of his observations that on the journey that he undertook very recently on a tour to Northeast to visit some self-employed young people. Some creative ways people are earning for themselves instead of depending on so-called white-collar or a salaried job, as we have been discussing at length?
Thank you, Tajab. The youth department of Nagaland Baptist Church Council undertook, we term it as economic study tour to some of the selected states in Nagaland, especially Shillong and Aizawl, the Mizoram. And the main purpose of that tour was to help our youth leader to see for themselves how important of the dignity of labor and also the work culture to be promoted. Because these dignity of labor and work culture, as we see, are dominantly practiced by the local youth, especially in Makalaya and also in Aizawl. Therefore, we stretched importance on this, and then we were very much encouraged to see the local youth, the young people, young boys and girls, who are actively involving themselves in all these productive activities in different manners, such as we visited one tea stall, which is that is in Aizawl town. Just in the middle of the town, we went there in the morning for our breakfast. Then there was a lady, two girls sitting in that hotel, not very well furnished, but it's very roughly, very rough sort of tea stall. Then we had a breakfast there, and we tried to interview that girl. She told us that she is a pre-university student, and she has been running this tea stall for last 10 years with her mother. And she said, my main source of income comes from this tea stall. That is very interesting.
Sorry, Reverend, I have to disrupt you.
Yes.
Because we are running out of time.
Okay.
But we'll be right back, and when we come back, we'll continue from where you left off, and also we'll discuss the most important issue for today, that is some personal guidelines for the unemployed individual.
Live media, LED screens with broadcast by Highland Dawn Media. Live multi-camera HD video record and live projection to HD LED screen. Live streaming videos simultaneously to websites, YouTube, Facebook. Later on, the same live event is telecast on 1. Nagaland Cornerstone TV, 24/7 online TV channel worldwide. Consistent, professional, reliable Nagaland and beyond media.
Welcome back, and I would like to request Reverend Chen to continue sharing us on his observations.
Well, yes, we visited another shop run by Mizu, a young man. He produced all kinds of handiwork activities, and his shop is not very big, but he said that he has already provided a job opportunity to 25 young unemployed people. Then he said his products are already in Bombay, Delhi, and also in Calcutta, and he has already made some sort of contact with the Australian government in order to send his handicrafts work, this and that. And I asked him specifically, what is the government rule in your project? He said that we never depend on government, because the government may come and go, but our project should survive, should sustain. So we should never depend on government, and that is real actually. Another place we visited, that is a barbering shop, haircutting shop. We interviewed one fellow. He is a well-trained barber and employed by the police department as a barber in that department. He said during my part-time, I run this sort of this haircutting shop, and he has 4 young men under him working in that particular shop, and per cut they earn 15 rupees. So we have requested him to come to Nagaland and give some sort of training to our young people who are interested to attend that. Then after visiting that particular shop, we went to another shop, interview with a lady, an elderly lady, who sells the mattresses in the billows with all kinds of color, with all kinds of sizes, around sitting in the midst of that. And we asked her, who did all this kind of manual work? She said that everything is done by myself. I did the cleaning, I did the stitching, everything I did by myself, and I support my family with this. Then we asked, how did you get those equipment, from where? She said that she bought that equipment, how to make those things from Mokokchon town, that is in Nagaland. Then another shop we visit, that is a tailoring shop. They call it a Rose Tailoring Shop in the heart of the Aizawl town. Mm-hmm. Then we interviewed him. He said, I was a top runner in the beginning, which means from house to house he dispatched the letters, maybe unemployed. But he said, I could not survive with this, with my family. Therefore, I decided to start a small tailoring shop with one machine. He started with one machine. Now he asked me to come with him to visit how many people he has. We went down to downstairs. We see a big room with 20 machines sitting by the 20 young people stitching all kinds of clothes. Mm-hmm. Then he took us to another place that is a small room with four men. They said these are the masters, and we are paying 7,000 each to one master. You say, how much they're earning? Earning more than me as a master. Cutting, that's all.
Sure, Reverend, at this point I want to ask you a question. You just said government had nothing to do with their success.
That's right.
So what would you say has been the catalyst in moving so many young people to take up to get self-employed?
I think it is the community, and also the community, society, the family. I think including the church. The church has been a very important role in this, encouraging and then supporting. And then even in terms of giving them some sort of help in order to start their sort of those activities, the products.
So keeping to this question, Reverend, what would you say? How has our church fared in this?
Coming back to our context, I think we think that those things are only for those non-local. It is not to be done by our own people. But that is very wrong conception. I think we should change. Especially the youth department of MBCC. We are trying to educate, and also we are trying to create some sort of awareness that we can all involve in these kind of activities that can help ourselves, and also that can promote the economic stability of the state and self-hood.
Now, you just said the youth department is doing something. Can you cite one thing that...
Through our initiative, two barber shop, especially in Putero, sponsored, financed by the church, and another shop in Pek, and then one shop, barbering shop in Tsemenu, sponsored, financed by the church, and two goblin shops are coming up in Zenebuto. Another haircutting shops are coming up also in Zenebuto. And the other day, my friend told me, a youth representative from Zenebuto told me that about 60 young people are coming forward to undertake this kind of thing. But 60. But I told them, Nagas are very emotional. Therefore, do not start with emotional. In the beginning, enthusiastically, emotionally, you start thinking, and after a week or two, it die down. Don't do that. Start with proper sort of things, and then it needs support from the church, support from the community, from the society, in order to let him continue this kind of project. That's what I have told
What
him.
about trainings and all?
Yeah. Well, we have already approved, the youth department executive had already approved that we will conduct a hair cutting seminar training in the month of November for 1 month. So we have already conducted a resource person from Mizoram. They said they will come, about 3 of them will come and stay 1 month here and give a training to our young people. So we're inviting 5 from each tribes all over Nagaland. They'll be here, and after training, they'll go back and start their own shop. And I hope that will make a lot of impact among the young people in order to come up with this.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's some very good news that he has given us.
Can I just give a comment on that?
Please.
Because that particular comment about emotion struck me as important. I'm sure we are all very inspired with his report. Thank you very much. You are doing a very good job here. Now, when you start something good, of course, maybe it's too early now to talk about restraining, because we need the publicity. But at the same time, it is always good to start with proper planning, as you have rightly pointed out. And therefore, if you are talking about, say, hair cutting in a particular, to quote one particular profession, if in a village, if 5 hair cutters will be enough, recruit only 5. Because there is a saying in Nagaland that everybody goes for something that is again showing some results. There is a saying, once upon a time there were few minibuses in Kohima making some very good money. But now we have many minibuses making no money. And that situation should not arise. And therefore, proper planning is good. And thank you once again for that very good project you have started.
That's right. And at this time I'd like to ask Nirmal. He has his own business. Now you have chosen something other than white-collar job. Now did you have some apprehensions in the beginning, or so you dreamt about this all the while? Starting a business or running a business beside a white-collar job?
Personally, I don't think I had any apprehensions, because I find myself that I was pretty focused from the start itself. My dad was a businessman, and I always wanted to succeed him as a businessman. And that's why I stay quite focused in the whole concept of building and bringing the business up. But the actual challenge came in sustaining the business, keeping it intact, and keeping it going. Merely starting a business and hoping that it will run by itself will not work. After opening the shop for the first day, it's all glamour for 1 week. After that, the real trial of strength starts. You start losing customers, and that is where we Naga people, we tend to lose a lot of hope. You will see that as far as retail business is concerned, I mean, it will go to other projects also. We down shutters within 6 months of opening our establishment. We lose hope very easily. We cannot be blamed for this, because there are times when we do not know what we are doing at all. We need to do proper planning, which is very less. Then we find certain businesses lucrative, and then we go to it. Like, everyone jumps into it, and then at the end you find that there is no water in the swimming pool. There are only swimmers. So it happens most of the time. That's why what I would like to say to all the young entrepreneurs who are coming up is, don't lose hope. Just keep going. Carry on with what you are doing. However trivial it might be, you are bound to succeed. It might look small to you now, but as you go up and go up, things will start coming your way, things will improve. And I would also like to say to the business people who take up loans here, to the young people who take up loans from finances from banks, subsidies from the government and other financial institutions, pay up your loan. Do not mistake a loan and a subsidy. Those are two different things. If you have taken up a loan, clear it completely, because that becomes your first step towards success. Take me seriously. That will be your step to success.
So Nimra, what you're saying is it's not just determination, but also integrity.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that will pay you handsomely. Right, thank you very much. One of our very successful businessmen. And I want to also
trying to.
Yeah. We have also with us Susie. I believe she's a model. And Susie, do you think that this is one thing Nagas also can go in the long term as a full-time profession, professional models in days to come?
This is very embarrassing because I'm not a model actually. Of course, I've modeled quite a few times, and then I feel that it is something that which I get something out of it. Some few experiences, and then some few pocket monies. I wouldn't say that like I say I'm not a model, but then
but what I'm trying to say is, can Nagas pursue this as a career?
But of course, why not?
In your opinion?
Yeah, like I have a very bright view that Nagas can surely pursue this modeling career, because we have many interested youth, like ladies, who wants to go for modeling as a career. And then today we find that modeling is not only a part-time job. We find that most of the modelers today in India, even in India, have become rich only with modeling also. Well, I feel that modeling is something that is also a part of a job, and then I'm sure we Nagas can pursue this modeling as a career, as a part of profession.
Okay, thank you very much. Reverend Chen has shared at length about haircutting and barbering and shoemaking. And as you are so in touch with the market, what are some other avenues Nagas can get into, in your opinion? Just besides haircutting? Yeah, haircutting and
there are a lot of.
They are great, but what are some more things?
There are a lot of businesses you can get into.
Like, could you
one good thing about that's coming up is recently a lot of taxis are coming up. A lot of minibuses have come up, but the sad side is that they are overflowing. They don't need any more investment. Those service sectors are catering to enough people. The business people who have already invested do not have enough business to do. Now, wouldn't it be wiser to invest or go into newer avenues with no competition, at least in the beginning? Hopefully, if your friends don't come into the same business, you will be able to survive for some time. But businesses can come in many ways. One good thing is we have a lot of my friends and a lot of student community out in other colleges. Besides just studying and coming back with their degrees, I'm sure it will be wise. I always keep telling my friends that when you come back with something that is new. Bring back some new technology that you have seen in their place and which has touched you and impressed you, and that can make an impact on our society and change and give you an income. Don't just come back with your degree. You will have difficulty getting employed, however educated you are. So I always advise them to come back with, it might seem very trivial, but take up franchises, there are a lot of companies. There are a lot of job avenues. You bring back some businesses into our state. It will help our state develop. You will end up employing people that will help in getting people employed around here, and also you will sustain yourself and your family. And if the business is good, maybe your second generation also. That's a lot of foresight.
Thank you. And on that note, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.